Thank you, Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination Art and Architecture in the Preistoria of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas, and this is on page 34 of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of art and architecture in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas by Italy. The ICOMOS report can be found in document INF 8B1 on page 222 of the English version and page 293 of the French version. On this evaluation, ICOMOS has received a letter on factual errors and has acknowledged some of these errors. The nominated serial property includes 26 component parts spread across the Italian island of Sardinia and dating from the Middle Neolithic to the Copper Age up to the dawn of the Bronze Age, between the 5th millennium and the end of the 3rd millennium before Common Era. They represent different types of architectural and archaeological structures, along with artistic representations that testify to the local reinterpretations of two cultural phenomena, hypogeism and megalithism, which developed almost simultaneously on the island and were both present in the broader cultural horizon of the Mediterranean basin and Europe more generally in the period under consideration. These structures also bear witness to the varied facets of life on the island, where the inhabitants adopted a sedentary way of life and subsistence strategies that included animal husbandry and farming. The nominated component parts include, based on function, civil structures, worship structures, and funerary structures. The 26 component parts are scattered across Sardinia. They include singular monuments, as well as large archaeological sites with multiple structures. The nominated property is a representative selection of architectural and archaeological remains that provide a window into the life of the prehistoric Sardinian communities that settled on the island between the 5th and the 3rd millennium before Common Era and erected monumental structures of civil, funerary, and magical worship nature. The comparative analysis has not established the exceptionality of the nominated property beyond the borders of Sardinia. However, it has shown that the nominated architectural category of Domus de Janas, the most characteristic hypogeal funerary structure of the Middle Neolithic to the Copper Age period in Sardinia, justify consideration for the World Heritage List. ICOMOS considers that, as proposed, the nominated property does not meet criteria 2, 3, and 6. However, ICOMOS considers that criterion 3 has the potential to be demonstrated on the basis of a revised narrative and reduced series refocused on the significance of the Domus de Janas as an exceptional testimony to a very particular funerary tradition in human history, which disappeared with the arrival of the Nuregic civilization on the island in the 17th century before Common Era. The conditions of integrity and authenticity of the current nominated series as a whole and of the individual component parts have not been met at this stage. However, this could have the potential to be met on the basis of a reduced series and refocused narrative on the Domus de Janas. The legal protection is adequate, ensured by a mix of laws and regulations at the national, regional, and local government levels. The current management system is adequate for managing the component parts individually. The forthcoming governance system designed for the nominated property should consider it holistically and manage as a whole. Maintaining the proposed component parts has been sometimes challenging to their location. During the evaluation process, specific conservation interventions in this regard were undertaken by the state party. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. ICOMOS considers that the nominated series does not depict the full picture of the prehistory of Sardinia, as was initially intended in the nomination dossier, due to scarcity of tangible evidence that would allow to reconstruct some aspects related to social organization and daily life of the local communities. The funerary field is better known, evidenced by numerous typical hypogeal structures, the Domus de Janas, often used over millennia. ICOMOS considers that the nominated property has the potential to justify outstanding universal value on the basis of criterion 3 if the narrative and the series are revised and refocused on the funerary practices of the prehistoric communities of Sardinia, their evolution and changes over time under the influence of ideological or other developments, as evidenced by the variety and complexity of forms of the Domus de Janas used over long periods of time. ICOMOS considers that the legal protection is adequate. The overall governance system should be established in accordance with the commitments made by the state party. Although tourism management has been improved, there is an urgent need to develop a comprehensive tourism management plan. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that the nomination of the art and architecture in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas by Italy, be referred back to the state party to allow it to reformulate the justification for inscription to focus on the ways the Domus de Janas reflect the development of the funerary practices and beliefs of the prehistoric communities, including ideological, spiritual, social, or other changes over time that can be observed thanks to the longevity of use of these funerary structures. Also, to reduce the series by including only the hypogeal structures known as the Domus de Janas, and reconsider the selection of component parts to ensure that each of them contributes individually in a substantial way to the potential outstanding universal value, while ensuring that cultural, social, or functional links between the component parts over time provide a sense of connectivity to the whole revised series. And establish an adequate governance system for the revised nominated property, taking into consideration all relevant stakeholders. ICOMOS has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. I thank you.
Thank you, ICOMOS, for your presentation. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. Greece, please, we have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Greece wishes to extend its gratitude to ICOMOS for its very in-depth evaluation and its appreciation suggestions to this remarkable nomination. We are very impressed by how the Domus de Janas represent the most extensive and richest manifestation of hypogenean funerary architecture in the Western Mediterranean, and ICOMOS itself has recognized that they have a strong potential to justify outstanding universal value. The Domus de Janas remarkably shows the history of the funerary practices of the prehistoric communities of Sardinia and their evolutions and changes over time, being an exceptional testimony to a very particular funerary tradition in human history, which originated and once flourished on the island of Sardinia and subsequently spread to other parts of the Mediterranean basin and Europe more broadly. The state of conservation of the site is deemed good by ICOMOS, which stressed that the conservation measures in place are effective. The rationale behind the boundary demarcations is considered sound and the legal protection is defined as adequate. Also, the integrity and authenticity requirements are considered likely to be met based on a reduced series and a refocused narrative. We have extensively discussed with the proponent state party, and we have been informed that it has already followed all the recommendations expressed by ICOMOS, therefore accepting to revise the series and to refocus the narrative, limiting it to funerary practices. We have also been reassured on the governance with the upcoming establishment of a foundation involving all relevant stakeholders. Given this, we considered that the nominated site, with the exclusion of some components, can fully meet criterion 3 and is ready for inscription to the World Heritage List. We are sincerely convinced that the list will be enriched by this impressive property. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Republic of Korea, followed by Belgium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Republic of Korea acknowledges the cultural and historical significance of the nomination, art and architecture in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas, submitted by Italy. We consider this property a valuable testament to the artistic expression of prehistoric communities over 2 millennia, reflecting their beliefs, practices surrounding death, and the spiritual world through the medium of rock-cut architecture. In particular, we agree that the Domus de Janas exemplifies the evolution of megalithic funerary traditions and the symbolic articulation of religious systems, and thus hold the strong values for meeting the requirements of Criterion 3. For these reasons, the Republic of Korea joined as a co-author of the amendment for the inscription and requests the implementation of measures such as the adoption of a statement of outstanding universal value, excluding some of the 26 component parts, the conduct of heritage impact assessments and monitoring, the establishment of interpretation strategies, and the reinforcement of governance to ensure the participation of diverse stakeholders in line with the recommendations by the advisory bodies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Belgium, followed by Ukraine.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Belgique remercie l'ICOMOS pour son analyse qui a mis en avant les grandes qualités de ces sites funéraires, mais aussi ses faiblesses et ses raisons qui avaient justifié son renvoi pour recentrer la proposition sur les Domus de Janas. L'État partie a dès à présent répondu aux remarques émises afin de pouvoir inscrire dès cette session les éléments constitutifs des Domus de Janas, témoins exceptionnels des pratiques funéraires disséminées sur le territoire sarde et remontant à plusieurs millénaires. Une catégorie rare sur la liste du patrimoine mondial, mais une catégorie qui est bien mise à l'honneur pour cette présente session. Sur base de l'étude de l'ICOMOS, nous encourageons l'État partie à veiller aux mesures de gestion locale adaptées à la préservation de ce patrimoine remarquable mais fragile, qui souffrirait d'un tourisme de masse et qui a jusqu'ici été préservé grâce aux soins des communautés locales de Sardaigne. Par conséquent, la Belgique souhaite co-signer l'amendement de la Grèce pour inscription de ce bien. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Ukraine, followed by Vietnam.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs. We thank the advisory body for the report. Ukraine, after the careful examination of the dossier, expresses its support for the nomination of art and architecture in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas, submitted by the State Party of Italy. This nomination illuminates the spiritual, artistic, and architectural legacy of prehistoric Sardinian communities who, over millennia, created a unique and enduring tradition of funerary architecture. The richness and geographical location of these sites across Sardinia provide remarkable insight into the evolution of prehistoric cultural and spiritual practices from the 4th to 2nd millennium BC, carved into living rock and often adorned with symbolic motifs. These tombs demonstrate a high level of technical skill, continuity of ritual, and a sophisticated understanding of space, material, and meaning. We commend the State Party for the careful and inclusive work undertaken in preparing this nomination, including the involvement of local communities and the safeguarding of cultural continuity. We also appreciate the commitment of the State Party to further refine the nomination in line with the ICOMOS recommendations. We believe that the nominated property offers a rare and valuable contribution to the shared history of civilization. So, we express our support to the nomination of art and architecture in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas, for the inscription on the World Heritage List. And we support and co-author the amendment proposed by Greece to the draft decision. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Vietnam, following by Qatar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vietnam supports and co-authors the amendment presented by Greece for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. We believe that the property meets criteria 3. It represents a unique and exceptional testimony of a vanished cultural tradition. The property fully meets the criterion of integrity. Many of the component parts include all the elements necessary to express its OUV. In terms of authenticity, the property preserves the original materials, construction techniques, layouts, and decorative elements. Recent conservation interventions were undertaken in a way that ensures the authenticity of the tombs. Scientific studies and different sources of information also testify to the authenticity of the individual component parts of the Syrian site and their attributes. We are glad to note that this property is subject to national and regional legislation with a very strict regulation on cultural heritage, and that a specific management plan for the property has been developed. We encourage the state party to continue implementing measures for maintenance, monitoring, and risk mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I now ask the director of the World Heritage Center to read the list as it stands so far. Once you hear the name of your country, please lower your plate. I would like to close this list given the limited time ahead of us. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. The following committee members have requested to take the floor in the following order: Qatar, India, Jamaica, Argentina, Kazakhstan, Lebanon, and Saint Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you. And I see also Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The list is closed, and I give the floor to the Qatar, followed by India.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We support the amendment proposal submitted by Greece and commend Italy for its sustained commitment to the protection and conservation of the funerary tradition in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas. The revised nomination, including the refined statement OUV, clearly demonstrates the site's exceptional testimony to the vanished cultural tradition and its significance in expressing the spiritual and social evolution of Sardinia's prehistoric communities. It is evident that the efforts undertaken by Italy, predominantly its intention to implement a more comprehensive governance system, enhance community involvement, and develop tailored monitoring and tourism management strategies, will reflect a collaborative and forward-looking approach that aligns with the committee's expectations. Mr. Chair, Qatar supports the inscription of the site with the proposed amendments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. And I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of India, followed by Jamaica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving India the floor. My experts have read the dossier carefully and also listened to the ICOMOS's report just presented. India thanks the State Party of Italy for the amazing nomination of the art and architecture funerary tradition in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas, and commends their effort to document and preserve an extraordinary testimony of prehistoric funerary culture. We commend the rigorous research, documentation, and conservation efforts that have gone into presenting this remarkable property to the committee. We also support the draft amendment presented by the delegation of Greece for its well-considered amendment proposing the inscription of this property rather than a referral. India fully supports this amendment for the following reasons. First, we're convinced by the depth and clarity of the outstanding universal value demonstrated in this nomination. The Domus de Janas, with their intricate architecture, symbolic carvings, and enduring use over millennia, represent a unique and exceptional testimony to prehistoric funerary traditions and social structures in the Euro-Mediterranean region. These hypogeel tombs speak not only to the beliefs of the past, but also to the shared cultural heritage of the humankind. Secondly, India acknowledges that while there are areas where management and interpretive frameworks can continue to be refined, the current nomination presents a credible and adequate governance structure under national and regional legislation. The existing management plan and legal protections provide a solid foundation for the property's conservation and long-term sustainability. India believes that the inscription of the property at this stage, with the refined scope and conditions as proposed in the amendment, honors the spirit of the Convention and encourages further excellence in site stewardship without withholding the deserved recognition of the site's immense cultural value. In view of this, India strongly supports the amendment proposed by Greece to inscribe the property on the World Heritage List under Criterion 3, and we invite fellow committee members to join us in doing so as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Jamaica, followed by Argentina.
Thank you, Chair. Jamaica thanks Italy for the nomination representing the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas. In review of this nomination, we note ICOMOS's recommendation for a referral. However, it is also noted that ICOMOS considers the nominated property has demonstrated a strong potential to justify outstanding universal value by focusing on the hypogean burials and the necropolises. As such, upon close examination of ICOMOS's evaluation and the amendment to the nomination proposed by Greece, in particular, the efforts of the state party to refocus the narrative to reflect only the funerary traditions in Domus de Janas, which is supported by a reduction in the series, the use of Criterion 3, and a change of name of the property, we are of the view that the state party has adjusted its nomination to adhere to the recommendations of ICOMOS. In addition, given that ICOMOS considers the state of conservation of the property to be good overall and the factors affecting it are under control, Jamaica supports the amendment proposed by Greece for inscription on the World Heritage List under Criterion 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Argentina, followed by Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We thank ICOMOS for its report on this nomination, as well as the state party for the complementary information provided. The Domus de Janas represent the most extensive and rich manifestation of Ipugean funerary practices, spiritual belief, and social evolution of Sardinia's prehistoric communities. Following the information presented by the state party, we agree that the Domus de Janas meets the Criterion 3 as a unique and exceptional testimony of a vanished cultural tradition. Moreover, and as it has been said here, all the assets in the proposed serial site are subject to national and regional legislation with a very strict regulation on cultural heritage. We support the detailed amendment presented by Greece for the inscription of the site in the World Heritage List and kindly ask the state party to continue its effort for the protection and conservation of the site in a cooperative and constructive dialogue with the advisory bodies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Kazakhstan, followed by Lebanon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you want attention to even the longest and dullest intervention, you can say, let me be brief. So let me be brief. We note that the proposed amendment submitted by Greece recognize and incorporate the main considerations and recommendations outlined by ICOMOS. Kazakhstan appreciates the reasonable and balanced approach concerned, which aims to strengthen the nomination in line with the Convention standards. We would like to co-author the proposed amendments and join the spirit of consensus that they represent. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Lebanon, following by Saint Vincent and Grenadines.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Liban félicite ICOMOS pour la qualité de son évaluation et la qualité exceptionnelle des Domus de Janas de Sardaigne est indiscutable pour son inscription au patrimoine mondial. Nous saluons l'État partie pour ses efforts et l'adaptation de son dossier aux recommandations du ICOMOS et pour sa sagesse. Le Liban appuie l'inscription de ce bien sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en assurant qu'il apportera une valeur ajoutée à la liste. Merci.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, followed by Rwanda.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines joins other members of the World Heritage Committee in support of the amendment submitted by Greece to inscribe the funerary tradition in the prehistory of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas in Italy, as a World Heritage Site under criteria 3. We anticipate the submission of the maps of the revised property boundaries by December the 1st, 2025, and the report on the implementation of the recommendations listed in the amendment to the World Heritage Center by 1st December 2026. We also acknowledge the hard work of both the ICOMOS and the State Party of Italy in putting this nomination together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to the esteemed delegate of Rwanda, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We wish to join Greece and the other members of the committee who supported the amendment proposing the inscription of the art and the architecture in the Preistoria of Sardinia, the Domus de Janas, on the World Heritage List under the criterion 3. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I see no more questions and comments. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 47.8b.26. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons reçu un amendement soumis par l'État partie de la Grèce, coécrit avec le Mexique et la République de Corée, et soutenu en salle par les États parties suivants: la Belgique, l'Ukraine, le Qatar, le Vietnam, l'Inde, la Jamaïque, l'Argentine, le Kazakhstan, le Liban et Saint-Vincent et les Grenadines, Argentine, Kazakhstan, Saint-Vincent et Grenadines et le Rwanda. Merci. Paragraphe 1 reste inchangé. Le paragraphe 2 inscrit la tradition funéraire dans la Sardaigne préhistorique, les Domus de Janas, Italie, à l'exception des éléments constitutifs suivants: ensemble fortifié de Monte Baranta, numéro 4, sanctuaire de Monte d'Acodi, numéro 6, nécropole de Limuri, numéro 10, dolmen de Sacovecada, numéro 12, abri de Lusanas, 13, village de Serralinta, 17, grotte de Corbedou, 22, menhir de Montecoru Tundu, 23, abri de Souforu de Isenzoredus et atelier de fabrication d'outils en pierre de Senixedou, 24, sur la liste du patrimoine mondial sur la base du critère 3. Paragraphe 3. Prend note de la déclaration de valeur universelle exceptionnelle provisoire suivante, le texte étant disponible uniquement en anglais pour le moment. Paragraphe 4. Recommande que l'État partie prenne en considération les points suivants. Le point A, la suppression des mots sélectionnés dans la proposition d'inscription. Le point B, suppression du mot proposé. Le point C et D reste inchangé. Le nouveau point E, suppression du mot proposé. Nouveau point F, établir un système de gouvernance plus étendu pour le bien, prenant en considération toutes les parties prenantes. Paragraphe 5. Demande à l'État partie de soumettre au Centre du patrimoine mondial, d'ici au 1er décembre 2026, un rapport sur la mise en œuvre des recommandations susmentionnées pour examen par le Comité du patrimoine mondial à sa 49e session. Mes excuses à l'Italie si j'ai écorché quelques mots. Merci. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much. I see India, Japan, Kenya, and Senegal who want to take the floor. It is it to be added to the list of supporters? Yes, okay. And Zimbabwe?
No, not Zimbabwe.
Oh, no.
Zambia.
Sorry?
And Zambia.
Zambia. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's add your names.
And
Bulgaria, so it's India, Japan, Kenya, Senegal, Zambia, and Bulgaria. So I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 47.8b.26. If the committee members agree with the para 1, any objection? I see none. Adopt. Is the committee member agree with the para 2? I see none objection. Adopt. Is the committee member agree with the para 3? I see none objection. Adopt. Para 4, we need to see. Is the committee member agree with the para 4? No objection. Adopt. Para 5, is the committee member agree with para 5? I see no objection. Adopt. No. I therefore declare the draft decision 47.8b.26 adopted. Let me congratulate Italy on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property. Italy, you have the floor for a brief two-minute statement. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, dear Director, distinguished colleagues, the inscription of the Domus de Janas on the World Heritage List is a source of great pride and satisfaction for Italy, as well as a significant responsibility for my country. I warmly thank the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS for their constant assistance and guidance, and all the members of this committee for your considerable trust. I wish to acknowledge also all those who made this extraordinary and choral achievement possible: proponents, scholars, local communities, regional and local administrations, under the thoughtful coordination of the Minister of Culture, starting from Minister Alessandro Giuli and Deputy Minister Gianmarco Mazzi, and of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, in particular our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister Antonio Tajani. Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Directeur, on dit parfois que la Sardaigne est pour frontière le ciel au nord, la mer au sud, à l'est l'aube et à l'ouest le crépuscule. Grâce à votre aimable reconnaissance aujourd'hui, vous la faites briller encore plus dans la Méditerranée en faisant resplendir ces trésors cachés, ces femmes et ces hommes courageux et persévérants, sa mémoire fascinante, ses valeurs profondes. Merci encore et j'ai l'honneur de donner la parole à la présidente de la Sardaigne, Madame Alessandra Todde.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished delegates, excellencies, the inscription of Domus de Janas in the UNESCO's World Heritage List is an extraordinarily important recognition for Sardinia and Italy as a whole. This is a unique heritage. More than 3,500 prehistoric rock cuts dug and built tombs dating back to the Neolithic period, which tell us the story of the earliest origin of the Sardinian civilization. With a widespread distribution and the symbolic richness of many decorated sites, the Domus de Janas testify to a deep cultural identity, now finally recognized as such international level. This achievement is the result of a collective work of the region, the Ministry of Culture, MAECI, the representation of UNESCO, CESIM, and the Sardinia municipalities involved. This is our historic achievement that strengthens our community sense of belonging and opens up a new growth opportunity for development, sustainable cultural tourism, to job creation and the enhancement of the innermost territories and young local energies. Thank you from the deep of my heart.